Friends, today's story is about a mother who was not among those who give up before their time. This is the story of a 10-year-old girl whose fate was being decided without her consent. And this is the story of a society where traditions are considered more powerful than humanity. Our story begins in a remote mountainous region of Pakistan, where the tribal system is still believed to be stronger than the law. Amid those mountains stood the house of Daulat Khan, who was regarded as the chief of his tribe. Daulat Khan was nearly 60 years old, a harsh, stubborn man who always enforced his own will. His wife, Raki, was half his age, living a life where silence had become a necessity. Raki was married to Daulat Khan when she was only 15 years old, and from that very day, her world shrank to the boundaries of those four walls. She was originally from Lahore, but after marriage she neither saw the city again, nor her family, nor her own choices. They had a daughter named Zainab, 10 years old, innocent, and full of dreams. Zainab was very close to her mother, and in her eyes Raki saw all the dreams that had been taken away from her. Zainab wanted to study, wanted to move forward in life, and wanted to build a home of her own. One day, while playing outside the house with her friend Rajo, she made a small house out of mud and said that one day she would build her own home. Laughing, Rajo replied that a home is built only after marriage, because in their society, a girl's dreams cannot come true without marriage. These words pierced Raki's heart like an arrow, because she knew that this very thinking could push her daughter onto the same path. That same day, a man named Shahbaz from the same tribe comes to meet Daulat Khan, loyal on the surface, but dangerous from within. Shahbaz reminds Daulat Khan that their rivalry with Torgul, the chief of the other tribe, has crossed all limits. Over the years, many lives had been lost in this conflict, and now a major decision was unavoidable. Shahbaz also tells him that Torgul is ready for peace, but his condition is not an ordinary one. The condition was that the enmity should be turned into a relationship, and the name of that relationship was Zainab. For a moment, Daulat Khan hesitates, because he knows that Zainab is still just a child. But his pride, his position as a chief, and the fear of war weigh heavier than his conscience. He agrees to go alone to meet Torgul. The next night, in the darkness, Daulat Khan is brought before Torgul, with his eyes blindfolded. After a few formal words, Torgul clearly lays down the condition. Zainab's marriage will take place next Friday. If the condition is accepted, the war will end. If it is refused, blood will be shed. Daulat Khan silently nods his head, and in that very moment, the fate of a little girl is quietly sealed. The next morning, Daulat Khan returns home quietly, and it is clear from his face that he has come back after making a heavy decision. The moment Raki looks at him, she understands that something has gone terribly wrong, but she does not have the courage to ask anything. Breakfast passes in complete silence, and Zainab notices an unfamiliar fear in her mother's eyes. Finally, in a stern voice, Daulat Khan calls Raki and tells her to ask Zainab to get ready. Raki panics and asks, "Get ready for what?" Daulat Khan coldly replies that her marriage has been decided. Hearing this, the utensil slips from Raki's hands, and Zainab looks at both of them in shock. In a trembling voice, Raki asks who the groom is, but Daulat Khan responds that this is not the time to ask questions. After a few moments of silence, he reveals that Zainab's marriage has been fixed with Torgul. The moment she hears that name, the ground seems to slip from beneath Raki's feet, because she knows that Torgul is more than 60 years old. Raki screams that Zainab is still a child, an age meant for toys, not for marriage. But Daulat Khan, in anger, ends the discussion by saying that this decision is for the safety of the tribe. Just then, Shahbaz arrives at the house, and his eyes repeatedly linger on Raki. With a poisonous smile, he says that Raki should feel fortunate that her daughter is going to the house of a powerful chief. Raki sternly tells him to stay quiet, but inside Shahbaz's heart, something entirely different is brewing. Zainab silently comes and sits beside her mother, then softly asks, "Mother, is my marriage really happening?" Raki pulls Zainab close to her chest, and silent tears begin to flow from her eyes. Lying to her, she says that nothing has been finalized yet, but her heart knows that very little time remains. That same evening, a few men from Torgul's side arrive and announce that the wedding will take place next Friday. They also make it clear that on the day of the ritual, Zainab will be taken away personally. Hearing this, the fear buried inside Raki for years begins to turn into anger. For the first time, she decides in her heart that she will not let her daughter reach this fate. Late at night, after putting Zainab to sleep, Raki sits alone in the courtyard. She remembers her past, her marriage at a young age, her broken dreams, and her long silence. At that very moment she makes up her mind that Zainab's life will not be like hers. From a distance, Shahbaz watches all of this, and greed and conspiracy are clearly visible in his eyes. Deep in his heart he thinks that this house is about to witness a new storm. The night grows deeper, and the entire house is wrapped in silence. But there is no trace of sleep in Raki's eyes. She sits beside Zainab, gently stroking her hair, having already decided in her heart that she will knock on every door if she has to. Zainab murmurs in her sleep and tightly holds her mother's hand, as if she too senses an approaching danger. At that moment, footsteps are heard outside, and Raki looks toward the door in alarm. The door slowly opens, and Shahbaz steps inside, a vile smile spread across his face. In a low voice he says that if Raki remains silent, no harm will come to Zainab. He also claims that after Daulat Khan, this house will belong to him, and Raki should accept his authority. For the first time, Raki stands before him with all her strength, and clearly says that for her daughter, she can go to any extreme. Enraged, Shahbaz grabs Raki's hand, and at that very moment, a terrified Zainab screams. Zainab's scream echoes through the entire house, and within moments, members of the tribe gather outside. Hearing the commotion, Daulat Khan arrives as well, and seeing the scene, he understands everything that had been happening in secret. For the first time, shame appears in Daulat Khan's eyes, and he realizes that he has committed a grave injustice toward both his wife and his daughter. In front of everyone, he announces Shahbaz's expulsion from the tribe and forbids him from ever setting foot in the area again. One by one, the tribal elders step forward and declare that such a marriage cannot be forced. Daulat Khan then announces that Zainab will not be married to Torgul, even if the price of this decision is a war. This message is immediately sent to Torgul, and for the first time, humanity is chosen over power. Soon after, news arrives that Torgul has backed down because the entire tribe now stands with a single child. Raki pulls Zainab close to her chest, and after many years, the weight of fear finally lifts from her heart. Zainab asks her mother if she will now be able to study, and Raki smiles and nods yes. Slowly the sun rises from behind the mountains, and a new morning begins with renewed hope. This story teaches us that when a mother stands firm, even centuries-old traditions can be broken.